So how do you draw a gerrymander? Now, you've probably heard in the news this week that Texas, even though it's already gerrymandered, is thinking of redistricting again in the middle of the decade, which makes no sense based on when the census is and when we normally do redistricting, because the president has ordered Texas Republicans to redraw their maps to guarantee 5 extra seats in the U.S. House because he is very concerned that Republicans will lose the midterms. Let's talk gerrymandering. There's a really good breakdown by Britannica where we can kind of see what's going on here. So if you have 60% of your voters supporting Team Orange and 40% supporting Team Purple, and we're using fair maps, then the legislative body that represents them should also be 60% Team Orange and 40% Team Purple. So either one of these district drawings, these maps, would be fine. They would be representative districts, and they would leave us with a representative legislative body, whether that's your state legislature or the U.S. House of Representatives. But what if you are in Team Orange and you don't want to have to deal with that minority party, even though they represent 40% of your constituents? You might draw a map like this, in which you cracked those purple districts and you split their populations into these other districts dominated by Team Orange. So in this case, even though Team Orange is only 60% of the population, they end up with 100% of the seats. This is not a representative district or map that was used to create this legislature, and this is a problem. Now, it gets a little more difficult if you're in the minority, but far from impossible. If you take a look at this map, even though Team Orange is 60% of the electorate, Team Orange ends up with only 2 of the 5 seats in the legislature. And they do that by packing districts with Team Orange people. You can see the 2 that are kind of C-shaped on the left here. They are all Team Orange. And that way we can have these other districts where the minority, Team Purple, is actually the majority of districts. The majority of districts. That's how you crack and pack. Both of these are bad for democracy and representative government. They make people feel as if their voice isn't being heard, because literally it's not. It's not, right? You have politicians choosing their voters, choosing to keep themselves in power even when they don't have the support of the people, or at least not in the numbers that they show in the legislature after doing this. But some people like Michael Lee over on Blue Sky have argued that Texas is already so gerrymandered, and they're making this extreme gerrymander where they're spreading these cracked districts real thin, that they might end up accidentally creating a competitive district where they didn't mean one to be competitive. And that is a dummymander. Here, Michael Lee points out, as I've said elsewhere, the key to any successful gerrymander is being able to predict the politics of the future. And that's pretty tough in Texas. In 2011, Texas Republicans thought they knew the future politics of the state, and they drew the maps accordingly, and they were wrong. And it changed many of those safe Republican seats into competitive seats. He says after 2018, Democrats in Texas thought they knew where the future politics of the state were leading, and they were wrong too. Looking at you, South Texas. So you can see this can get very messy even if we keep it to the state of Texas, but when you add in that though national Democrats are very much opposed to gerrymandering, but Democrats in California are threatening to gerrymander California for the Democrats in response to Texas gerrymandering for the Republicans, it can get a lot messier. So all eyes on Texas?